Morning.
How are you all? All right. How are you today, Tasha?
Um, I'm doing well. Yeah, I'm a little stressed, but yeah, I'm doing good.
I'm
Good
sorry.
things are about to, good things are about to, like, there's a lot of blessings that are getting ready coming. Yeah.
Well, that's great then. That's what we
Yeah.
want.
I sent you an email, so, that explains it. So, yeah. So, thank you.
I will check that. Did you get the what I was gonna talk about, the meeting minutes with the roll call list? Perfect.
Yes, I did. I was like, yes, you're on it.
Perfect.
Cool, cool. I'm excited.
Me too. Thank you, Shane. No worries there. Whitney, if you can hear me, I'm going to promote you to panelist. Since you are a member of the council, you'll be able to be on screen and talk and everything. So please just accept that promotion when I send it your way. Perfect. Thank you so much, Whitney. Good morning. So happy to have you here.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much. Very excited to have you joining us today with Whitney's first BHAAC meeting.
Thank you.
Welcome. Welcome, Whitney.
Thank you very much. I'm so sorry, you guys, but I have to be offline for a while today, and I'll make sure next meeting you'll see my face.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for welcoming me here.
The first of the year, so that's a great way to start it off. I like that idea.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome to the council.
Thank you, Miss Tasha.
Yes, Shane. It's already recording. When I started it, it started recording. And then Shane, can you make sure that our ASL interpreters are have the interpreter function?
Yes.
Thank you.
So then it'll probably, is it going to download to the cloud or to your computer, the recording?
Okay, perfect.
I don't know which one. Do you know which one?
I don't. I think it's probably the BHAAC Zoom account. I think it'll download there.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Today's view gallery. All right, everybody. Let's see here. Closed captioning's on.
So I'm not sure. I'm not seeing the option for interpreter to assign them. I see Megan has arrived, but usually on the more section at the bottom here, I have interpretation and I don't have that option today. Caitlin, do you see it on your side?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Shane, at the bottom?
Yeah, at the bottom, yeah, the more.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see interpretation anywhere in the options?
Let's see here. There we go. I see Megan on here as an interpreter. What other? I don't know if that one's joined yet. Okay,
The other one, Kelly, should be joining soon.
okay, perfect.
And I don't, yeah, okay, perfect. I see it now. Excellent.
Judith, I'm promoting you to panelist. Let me know if you don't get that invite.
Audio check for me. We good? You guys are amazing. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Raquel.
Look at all those beautiful faces.
Good morning.
Hello, Shane, Brittany. Hello, Rachel.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning, co-chair. Good morning, Caitlin. Keeping us all together. Good morning, Judith.
Good morning. I think there's something wrong with my camera. This is so strange. I've never
Hey,
seen this before.
Renee. I can't hear you on mute.
Hello, how are you?
It's so good to see your face.
It's so good to be here.
Yeah.
Finally, again.
Exhale. Mm.
Audio now unmuted. From Brittany Noble to all panelists, Judith Liu.
Right, everybody. We still have a couple more minutes to get everything up and running. I myself am going to go refresh some coffee really fast. I will be right back.
That's Caitlin. The one that just said she'll be back. No, not that she'll be back. That's just Caitlin. See, you have a picture of what she looks like. You'll see it come back on. And don't have your screen where it goes like that.
Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Carolyn.
Good morning.
Right. Good morning, everybody. How are we? So good to see you all.
Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Carolyn. How are you today?
Good. I'm doing good.
Of course, my 4-month-old puppy decided this was the moment he needed to go to the bathroom. So rushing around in my backyard, please. No. All right. Looks like we might have the second interpreter here. Let me All right. See here, I'm making sure that I don't have anybody in the attendee list that should be a panelist. Do we have some of our new members joining today? Danielle and Preston and Whitney. So good to see you all. All right. Let's see here. It's 9 o'clock on the dot, so we can give it just another minute or two. We do have a very full schedule today, which is wonderful. So we will get started sooner than later. I'll go ahead and share my screen. All right, can everybody see that so far? All right, we are cooking. Good morning for all those just joining us. We're going to get started in just a moment. Let a couple more people join in here today. Good morning, Ashley. All right. Well, with that, I'm going to pass it over to Judith to get us started here.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair, Co-Chair, everyone on this panel. My name is Judith Tieku. I am the Community Engagement Manager for BHA. I'm replacing Megan today. I'm in her stead. She's on leave, and I cannot get my camera to work this morning. So I hope you can enjoy this aurora borealis. I hope that it's a pleasant experience for you. But before we dig in, I just want us to go over some housekeeping items. Next slide, please. So we have ASL interpretation during the event. Participants can view the view of a panelist. ASL interpreters will be available to everyone during the event if you wish to utilize this. Please hover over your interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen and select American Sign Language if you would like to view this channel. You may also adjust the ratio of a screen that's being shared by the panelists, and the panelist videos are visible visible by hovering your cursor on the left of the panelist until your cursor changes to a horizontal arrow, just like it's shown in the picture on this right. Left click and drag your cursor across the screen until you have reached your preferred view. Next slide, please. We also have closed captions enabled for this event. Please click on the closed captioning button at the bottom of your Zoom window to turn on subtitles. If you need to change the subtitle language, please click the caret to the right of the button and translate to your chosen language. If you're a member of the public and have technical difficulties, please send a message in the Q&A, which is at the bottom of your screen. Thank you. Next slide, please. And some additional housekeeping items. All members are able to unmute. All council members are. Please raise your hand to be acknowledged. Prior to speaking, please identify yourself. The Q&A feature is open for all attendees. However, all comments and questions may not be addressed in real time. The chat feature will be open for the last 10 minutes of the meeting. The council will determine how to address any public comment or questions we do not get to today. Recording is in progress for note-taking purposes and for any council members who are not able to be here today. All future meeting dates, agendas, and meetings will be posted to the BHAAC website. Any questions or comments regarding the council or BHA can be submitted through the Contact Us section of the BHA website. Thank you. Next slide, please. And here are some group agreements that we would go over again today. Please listen and engage respectfully. Differences of opinions are natural and often useful. Have an open mind, be curious and be bold. Everyone has equal voice and valuable contribution. Please take space, make space, keep to time and agenda, start and end meetings on time. No acronyms, please. No acronym subs here. It is okay to turn off your camera and take time to rest at any time during the meeting. Please take care of yourselves. Next slide, please. And I'm gonna hand over to Chair. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order, November 21st, 2024. We'll move forward with the adoption of the agenda. Let me switch my screen and stretch it out a little bit. There we go.
I'm also going to be dropping a copy of the agenda in the chat for everybody as well.
Thanks, Caitlin. Appreciate that.
Roll call.
Roll call, Tasha.
Yeah. All right. Good morning, BHAAC. Great to see your faces that decided to join us today. And thank you for taking your time out of your days. Greatly appreciate it. So I'm going to start with roll call here. Karen Renee Anderson.
Hold the audio now.
I am here.
Danielle, and I don't want to chop your last name, so I'll just say Danielle.
Good morning, Tasha. Danielle Ngadi.
Okay, thank you for saying that pronunciation for me.
No worries.
Robert Archuleta. Preston Berry.
Present.
Thank you. Whitney Butcher.
Present.
Ash Castro,
Present.
Raquel Garcia,
Present.
Carolyn Hall,
Present.
Tasha Conker, present. um, Judge Leaf,
We are having some technical difficulties getting some new members in. So I have Judge Leaf and Antonio Pito trying to get in, and I'm working with them to get settled in. So give me one
Thank-
minute on those, Tasha.
You're fine. Thank you for the communication. Maria Martinez,
Here.
Keith, good morning. Keith Parker, Antonio, I'm not going to chop that last name.
Yes, and he's the one trying to get in right now. So
Okay.
give me a minute on him.
Nor Shavy, Jamie Ulrich, Cameron Vigil,
Present.
Catherine Washington,
Present.
Seth Watkins, and Vice Chairman Swaylin White Skunk. All right. That is roll call. Thank you, guys. Over to you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. My screen just did like a weird thing on me. Give me 2 seconds. There we are. I lost our agenda. Moving forward with a motion to approve the minutes. Oh no, we're doing an agenda overview first, Caitlin? Or movie? Okay, this is right. Okay, I'm like following it. We had the agenda one first. Move to approve the minutes.
I motion to approve.
Motion. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Go
make a motion to approve the minutes, please.
Thank you, Carolyn. Do I have a second? Thank you, Maria. So moved. The minutes for September are approved. And now we get to do some new member introductions. Really excited. I feel like we have come so far as a council to get to a moment where we feel like we can welcome some new folks in. We are so excited. We've worked really hard so that you can be here with us today as a council. I'm really proud of the progress of this team. Bravo, BHAAC Council. And also thank you to Caitlin for, getting us organized there. They have like an orientation packet everybody gets to learn way more than we had, right? And that what our purpose is to be able to give the next generation, next people more than we had. And we're doing that as a council. So I'm really proud of that work. And Caitlin, thanks for really helping us and supporting us get to creating the vision that we had for the new people that are coming on. So we want to welcome Preston Berry. Preston, welcome to BHAAC Council. Whitney Butcher, welcome to Council. Judge Elizabeth Leith, thank you. Welcome to Council. Keith Parker, thank you. Welcome to Council. And Antonio Pido, I may have said that right. Welcome to Council.
Thank you so much, Raquel. If the new members would like to come off mute at this time and just do a brief introduction, we'd love to hear a little bit more about you and kind of what brought you to BHAAC today.
Who wants to lead us off?
I can lead us off.
Come on, Preston.
Well, good to be here with you all. Very blessed to be with you all here today. My name is Preston Iano Berry, but Preston is so much easier. So help you out there, Tosh, with that. I've worked with Southern Union Behavioral Health here in Ignacio, Colorado, close to the Durango area. I'm a peer recovery coach, about to be a peer recovery specialist, working on my credentials right now. I'm the 988 Suicide and Crisis Program Manager here with Southern Union Behavioral Health. Actually, my supervisor kind of brought this to my attention. Thought it'd be something that I could maybe excel in a little bit, kind of broaden the horizon. So, I'm always willing to take on new challenges. Kind of out of my wheelhouse. I mentioned that before, but but I like to get out of the comfort zone, opportunity for growth. So this is definitely one of those avenues to go down. So yeah, I'm really happy to be here, 7 years into my recovery right now. Just looking forward to working with you all.
As a fellow recovery and fellow peer recovery evangelist, welcome. You're speaking my language, Preston. Speaking my language. Who would like to go next? Whitney?
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Yes, my name is Whitney Butcher. I have a degree in human services. I heard about the position that was coming available, and I felt like it was something that I can use, a tool, and I'm also going to gain some knowledge of how everything works. And so I applied and I got the position, and I'm so thankful.
Welcome. We are so happy you are joining us. I don't think, was Judge Lethan?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, thank you. My name is Elizabeth Leith, and I serve as the probate judge for the city and county of Denver. And one of the things that I try to do is to connect our criminal courts with the civil safety net system in Colorado, not just in Denver, but I also sit on some statewide not organizations, but really work groups and things like that. And I'm very interested in trying to make these connections between not only civil and criminal, but also the judiciary and the Behavioral Health Administration. We work with the OCFMH. And I'm just really interested in trying to make this whole system work better for everybody in Colorado, not just in Denver County, but also my focus is really on that population of folk who really struggle with not just substance abuse issues, but severe and persistent mental health issues. They end up incarcerated, as everybody here I'm sure knows very well. And so what I'm trying to do is move it along so that we can not only move people out of incarceration, but also maintain them in the community in whatever form that needs to be, that will support them the best way. So that's why I'm here. And I had applied and noticed that there was a representative from State Court Administrator's Office position on the council. So that's what I applied for.
So grateful you are here with us today. Thank you, Elizabeth.
And everybody, I want to take a moment because this was my mess up. I have Danielle and Gotti as a new member, and I did not put them as a new member. So Danielle, I just had it in my mind that you've been here for forever. So first of all, welcome. And second of all, if you'd like to come off mute and introduce yourself, my sincere apologies about that.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Danielle Ngotti. I'm located over in the Western Slope in Delta, Colorado, close to Junction. My day job is I'm the executive director of the ARCA West Central Colorado. I'm the original founder and owner of this particular chapter as well. I specialize in folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities from birth to death, and work closely with RA and slowly making my way into HICPUF and CDHS. And so when this opportunity came along, I thought this would be a great opportunity from not only a lived experience, but professional as well, to really bring that role voice to the table for those who are greatly underserved in our area. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out at any time.
Thank you, Danielle. And my apologies again.
No worries. No worries.
I've been emailing back and forth with you. I just had it in my head you were a standing member already, so.
It actually makes me feel better because I texted Tasha this morning and I was like, I have 3 links to the meeting and
Yeah.
I know how to use Zoom, but I don't think I'm in the right meeting. So
We're gonna get that cleared up for next year. Don't worry about that. I also have like 3 to 4 Zoom links and everybody's
Yeah.
like, what's happening? So
all right, well, thank you.
Absolutely. You have a great warrior down there in Delta, Miss Katie Fisk. Love me some Delta. You guys do good work down there. I love it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see. We can go on to Keith. A little bit of yourself, who you are, where you're from, or where you're at, and why you're here, if you feel comfortable doing so.
not sure Keith was able to join us today.
Okay, is Antonio here?
We are still, let me see here, trying to get them into the meeting. So we will come back to Antonio. He's having a little bit of Zoom difficulties this morning. All right.
All right, Caitlin, I think it's you, right?
I think so. So any other new member that I might have missed on accident. All right. Well, again, welcome to all of you who are able to be here today and our new members. We really appreciate you being here and are looking forward to working with you all very closely. So just a couple of little BHAAC business behind the scenes here. Talking now about our bylaw draft 2. So for our new members, you should have received a copy to the bylaw draft 1. And basically, when I came to BHA back in April, one of my first tasks was quote unquote standardizing the bylaws. And I do the quote unquote here because what we were talking about as we were developing these bylaws is that word standardization we found not to be the correct choice. So what we've done with the first draft of bylaws that I sent out back in July was just a very blanketed template of bylaws. It included things, such as like meeting cadence, the roles of chairs and vice chairs, subcommittees, and things of that nature. For the draft 1, we have since gone through as the council and in external office hours, we've gone through line by line and edited the bylaw draft 1 to fit the needs of this council. So we did different, we changed some language, we added things, we removed things, and things of that nature. So what I have done since is I have incorporated all of that feedback and put that into a bylaw draft 2. So let me see here. Give me just one moment. All right, so I'm gonna click into bylaw draft 2 here. So can everybody still see my screen? Thumbs up, okay. All right. Give me one moment. I just wanna make sure that all of my ASL interpreters are up and running and all of mine are linked on my end, everybody. So just wanted to make sure there. Let me see here.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and spotlight you because I've marked you as an interpreter in here, but I saw you on my screen, but not the whole. So I'm gonna just spotlight you and just message me when I want to switch over. So apologies, everybody.
Channel, if you can put me in there with her in the ASL channel.
I have. It's showing as both on those. So okay, so coming back to bylaws, everybody. So our mission and vision statement has been taken directly from the annual report that this council produces every year according to statute. So the BHAAC is responsible for an annual report that is due to the BHA on September 1st that incorporates some of your reviews and recommendations for different statutory requirements throughout the year. So for new council members, as you start onboarding, We'll be scheduling, the meetings and the subcommittee to start reviewing the annual letter of recommendation. Probably, I believe our start time is in April. So we'll start onboarding you as that information comes. So don't worry about anything too much yet, but the mission and vision statement are taken directly from there, which that annual report you should have received in your onboarding email, but it is also linked to our BHAAC website. So for members of the public, new members, or anybody who would just like to take a look at that report, they are linked on the BHAAC website. So scrolling down here, we have our Article 1, Creation and Duties. A lot of this is taken from statute directly, so it's not language that we're really able to change at this point in time, unless we do a big legislative overhaul, which is possible down the road, but as of right now, it's currently serving our needs, so we'll keep it for now. So keep on scrolling down here. We talk about membership. Again, this is statutorily required membership, so we have some rural communities, each tribal government. Thank you, Preston and Chairman White Skunk. We have our county governments, persons with disabilities, the judicial state branch. Thank you, Judge Lee. Behavioral health safety net providers, persons with expertise in the behavioral health and needs of children and youth, and persons with expertise in crime victimization, trauma, or adverse childhood experiences. So some of the things that we just briefly wanted to talk with you all about today was some of the different language in here that we didn't know if the council as a whole would like to keep or remove. So what we have highlighted here is members shall be appointed by the commissioner and may serve a term of 3 years, except that some initial terms may be for 2 years. So this language was taken directly from statute, and so this is actually part of the inaugural council of BHA. And so when we were onboarding the inaugural council of BHA, some of the terms were going to be 2 years because of the different onboarding process. Now that we're an established council and we're going to be onboarding consecutively with, specific times for recruitment and onboarding and things of that nature, we wanted to see if this language still makes sense in order to keep in the bylaws that you like, or if we wanted to remove it at this time. So just kind of wanted to brainstorm this with you all a little bit this morning and get some feedback. Tasha?
So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this. So where it says, so change the except for some of the terms, maybe 2, or is it just serve a term of 3 years?
Yes, so either keep the initial term of 2 years or remove the initial term of 2 years. Because again,
so it's only a 3-year term?
Yes. So then
Okay.
it would just be 3-year terms throughout instead of with the potential of a 2-year term.
Suggestions.
Sorry, my phone's reading to me. My suggestion is to take out the 2 years because it does add going forward and stuff like that. It does add a little bit of confusion to it. Always added confusion. So yeah, my suggestion is to take that part out, remove it, redact it, right? Brian, is that the right word? Redact, amend.
I would agree. I think it just makes it a clearer line. I think it has always caused confusion. And so I think when we're trying to make sure that it is inclusive and equitable and just like even just clear, right? Clarity is kind. And so I think it's a lot clearer. Does anybody else on council have any feedback? Carolyn?
Yeah, I do. I feel like it makes me feel like only some people get 2 years and some people get 3, and it doesn't seem in fairness. So that's why I don't like the exception that initials may be for 2 years. I think it's a personal choice if someone chooses not to be 2 years, but it is confusing to be putting in here.
Thanks for that, Carolyn. Cameron, do you have any feedback? I saw you come off mic or off mute.
I just agree to remove the 2 years. Also, I think Elizabeth said she agrees, but I think for some reason her messages are going to just me and not the council.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Yeah, I also think too, we had discussed that inaugural council, like by the time we just got started, I mean, look how long it took us to get to this point, right? And so it would actually be a disservice for some of us to all it would be like exiting stage left that would not serve the community of Colorado for everyone who's been here from the beginning to walk away at this time. It would not be wise. Danielle?
Good morning. Thank you. I was reviewing draft 1 and 2 last night, and I was hoping to understand a little clarity around this particular issue, because it seems a little confusing to me. And so was this put in the bylaws to try and show transparency that some of you had already been here, but now you guys are finally moving forward to be a really solid board that, you know, has been able to allow us in now? It just does, it feels like it's unnecessary to be in there.
So Danielle, that language is actually taken directly from statute. So if you look at our statute, 2750-702, it states in statute that the members shall be appointed for 3 years, except that some of the initial terms may be for 2 years. And so it was just a way to ensure kind of like the onboarding process of new members for the inaugural council. Since we have our inaugural council up and running now, again, this language might not make any more sense at this time, but that's what the language was for originally.
That's what I was wondering. So I guess my opinion would be to remove it because it's mute to the situation moving forward. Okay. But I would agree in the sense of kindness. Nobody's held hostage here for 3 years. If you know, I know Stockholm syndrome happens, but I wouldn't want anyone to feel that they couldn't leave if there was no choice.
No,
life happens.
Right. We've had council members have to step down for various reasons. Jesse Poolcock and stuff like that for life. So yeah, definitely. It's just a like your initial commitment and what we're striving for, but also life allowing you to step down if that happens.
Okay. Thank you for letting me work that out to understand what was happening there.
No, that's what we want. Thank you. That's what this space is for.
And I just appreciate the fresh set of eyes on with these bylaws. So it's nice. So thank you, Danielle, for your input.
All right, so I think that we have a consensus of removing this section. All right. Catherine, it looks like you might be drawn on the screen over here.
I don't know how to put the hand up. Sorry. So I noticed some like really small types of things, spacing, commas, and that sort of thing. Should we submit those separately?
Sure. Yes, that would be great. I will send you, I don't know if it was sent back over to you, but I will send you all the bylaw feedback form for members that you can submit some feedback that way as well.
I was thinking more of a review, cross out type of document editing type of thing.
Yes, if you want to go up here, you should have editing capabilities and you can go in and do some suggesting and just do a tracking so we can see what changes have been made in the document.
I don't know if I can sign into Google, but I'll figure something out.
All right, well, we can get together at a later date and time too, Judge Leith, and we can walk through this together.
Right, yeah, because there's some stylistic things that I've noticed and, you know, just nitpicky type things.
Absolutely, I love that, thank you. All right, so moving down here. Okay. This is one that we wanted to specifically talk about with the council as a whole as well. So as you can see here, our meeting quorum is a simple majority. So at least 51% of voting council members need to be on the meetings in order for us to be able to hold motions and take votes and things like that. So if the 51% of the members are not here, what we have proposed is to kind of basically stop the council meeting and move it until reschedule it within 10 days at a time and date determined by the council. Now, we realize that that might not be feasible for everybody. However, we also realize that, technically now that we're going to be moving to a monthly meeting cadence, we're only going to have 12 meetings basically a year for us to be able to conduct council business. So really wanted to make sure that the council business is moving forward. We're getting the correct level of engagement. We're able to make motions and take votes and things of that nature as needed. So wanted to talk here a little bit about this with you all to see if this is something that is agreeable to the council as a whole, or if you would like to change the language and state that the council meeting will continue as planned. However, no formal motion or vote will be able to be held during that council meeting that doesn't have a quorum reached. So wanted to hold a little bit of space here to see what your all's feedback was on that as well.
I would say that don't waste the meeting if you can. So if there's no quorum, just go ahead, but not a vote. But my other question was do the co-chairs have the ability to cancel a meeting if they're aware that there's going to be an insufficient number of people able to attend?
Yes. So the chairs and vice chairs will have that authority. Thank you for that feedback, Judge Lee. Anybody else? Any other thoughts about this?
Yeah, this is Rob. I say not to cancel the meeting, move forward. And if there's no voting that could happen, it is what it is. But for sure, I think that if few people show up and we could still have the meeting, I think it should move forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, I feel along the same lines. I feel like we should still have the meeting, but all the voting can go to the next meeting.
Sounds good.
I concur.
Yeah, agreed.
All right.
I think you'll have a challenge getting everybody back in a room. Dr. Rob and I are like, yeah.
Right. I know that's why we were like, we wanted to just hold some space for everybody's feedback. All right. So lastly, we have here, just wanted to talk to you about establishing these response requirements. So we originally put that in there just to make sure that we do have a quorum established at each meeting. So what it reads as right now is that each member shall be required to respond to the attendance request at least 2 calendar days prior to each meeting to ensure a quorum will be present. Does that feel feasible for you all? As we understand that you are busy and things like that. Just wanted to see if that is feasible for everybody to have, and all we're asking here is for a quick email back saying, yes, I will be there. No, I won't. If that doesn't feel feasible, we can absolutely remove that and revisit it possibly at a later date and time. If we do start to realize, members aren't continuously responding or checking in, or we haven't been able to establish a quorum for, a couple meetings in a row. So just wanted to kind of hold a little bit of space here and get a little bit of feedback on that as well. Thank you for that, Cameron. Feasible for Cameron? Tasha, thank you. And again, we're not trying to, babysit you or anything like that. We're really just trying to make sure that, there's an open line of communication between BHA and council members, and really just to establish that a quorum can be met at each meeting. So, we can keep moving forward. Thank you, Renee. Thank you, Raquel. Thank you, Karen. All right. Thank you, Maria. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be pretty feasible for everybody. So we will keep this for now. And if we need to go back at a later date and time to readdress this, we absolutely can. Though these bylaws will work to enact them, and hopefully at the January meeting, I will incorporate all of this feedback, and we'll have that third draft that will be finalized and ready to be taken a vote on. But at our July meeting, which we'll kind of come back here and see at our annual calendar, we're going to be using that as kind of our reset refresh meeting. And so we can take a look at these bylaws, every July to say, hey, are these still, fitting the needs of this council? Is there any language that might need to be changed? Are there any rules that might need to be added or deleted? So just because these are enacted doesn't mean that they're set in stone and they'll never be, malleable or changeable again. So I just wanted to kind of point that out there, that we will be doing, continuous check-ins as the years go through to make sure that these bylaws still remain relevant to the needs of this council at this period of time. All right, so any questions about bylaws before we jump into our annual calendar? I want to make sure I'm still doing it on time.
Is there a provision that authorizes changes to the bylaws?
Yes, Judge. It is going to be yes, right here, that these bylaws may be amended, adopted, repealed, and new bylaws may be established by the majority vote of the entire membership of the council at any regular or specialty called meeting of the council.
Thank you. Sorry, I should have seen that. Sorry.
Thank you for asking. All right. So I'm going to quickly jump into our annual calendar because I only have about 5 minutes until our wonderful Ryan Templeton takes the stage. So the executive subcommittee and I have been meeting to start building out our annual calendar for the year. So this is going to be based on some of the feedback and recommendations that the council made in the annual report. Basically trying to get some more information your way and help you learn the best of our ability about the current behavioral health system in Colorado and areas that we can identify gaps and room for improvement. So all of these presenters and subject topics kind of go in line with the recommendations of the council from the annual report, excuse me. So here we can kind of see, in January, our community engagement team is going to be presenting to us about their community engagement strategy. We're also going to be working with HICPUF to get a presenter in here to go over some of the Medicaid changes that are currently happening right now, specifically talking about, transitions with BASOs, rural frontier care access, as well as like the reapplication process. So if you all can just, take a look at this at your leisure and go through and see if there's any, recommendations that you might have for us to add or kind of change the flow of things. We want to show here that we're really trying to establish, some follow-up conversations so we get that continuous feedback loop that we kind of lacked in the past. So just again, this is kind of like a bird's eye view on what's to come. So if there's, one topic that you find really, really interesting, please make sure to have, the March meeting like really set aside and come prepared to engage and ask questions and things like that. So again, this is kind of a bird's eye view. If we need it to be malleable and change some things and we find, hey, we really need to get this one presenter back in before they're scheduled to come back, we absolutely can do that. All we're just trying to do here is just to get a little bit more organized for the year to come and be really intentional with our conversations, our planned speakers, and some of the things like that. Is that kind of agreeable for everybody at this point in time? Are there any, big red flags or huge questions that we need to address? All right. And some thumb raises, some hearts, love that. All right. So again, we can definitely come back to this and members can take a look at their leisure. And if you have any feedback for us, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself, your chair Raquel, or your vice chair Tasha. We're always working together and always communicating. I'm sure Raquel and Tasha are tired of my emails and texts, but we're always in each other's ear, and we're here just to support the council as a whole and just really want to make sure that you are getting the most accurate and correct and specific information possible in order to be the most effective council possible. So lastly, wanted to take a minute to let you know that the executive committee, which is basically the backbone of this council, is accepting new applications. So on the agenda that was sent out to members last week, there's a link to the application that you can go up and apply to be a member of the executive committee. The executive committee helps kind of oversee the administrative and organizational functions of this council. So they do things such as organizing the agenda, helping us facilitate with the other subcommittees. They really serve as kind of the backbone administrative support of this council. So if that's something that you have interest in participating in, we are accepting new members. And so for new members of the council, if that's something that you would kind of like to see a little bit more involvement in the council and kind of get a little bit more of the background information, we highly encourage you all to go ahead and apply. We meet for 1 hour each month before each council meeting. So it's not a terribly large lift, but it is a little bit of extra time. So if you don't have the bandwidth right now, that is completely understandable. But if you do, and it is something that you're interested in, we would absolutely love to have you. Next, I wanted to propose a motion for the creation of a public questionnaire. So we were talking about this in our executive subcommittee meeting the other week about, as you engage in your communities and within the public, we understand that you're getting a lot of questions, and some of them you have answers to and some of them you don't. So what we are trying to talk about making this motion proposal here is to create an online questionnaire or form that can be linked to our website that we can direct members of the public to, that they can go and fill out and submit their questions there. And then the executive subcommittee can review those questions and either bring them to the council as a whole to review and discuss in real time, or we can direct the person wherever they might need to go within the state with regards to resources and additional points of contacts and things like that. So wanted to kind of take a moment. I know we're almost at time here, but wanted to take a moment and see if that's something that makes sense as an agreeable to you all. And if so, if you all wanted to make a motion to go ahead and add that to the website.
I want to add 2 cents. So here's the idea is that the council worked, right? We were supposed to be positioned around the state so that we can be the voice and bring that voice here. But like my inbox is getting overwhelmed, or Rob, and so I think it would be great for us to have this tool to give to the community to say, hey, we have some support behind the scenes. Can you take this and please put your concern or your celebration here so that then we can bring it to council, and that it's also tracked for them instead of like me having to be accountable for that myself personally in my inbox. So I feel like that would be supportive for everyone. That was our thought behind it. I move. Can I?
Yeah.
I'm like, you're
I
leading.
second.
Okay,
I second that
that's a
emotion.
second? Okay, all right, everybody. Well, I'll go ahead and get that draft up to members, and I'll send you all a link to review some of that information ahead of time before it goes live, but we'll aim to have that live by our next council meeting in January. So I know that I'm just a minute over time. However, I did want to welcome our new member, Antonio. He was able to get on, and I'm sorry for the Zoom frustrations this morning, Antonio. But just wanted to welcome you and say thank you for being here and persevering through all of the Zoom confusion this morning. So thank you very much, Antonio. Do you want to come off mute and introduce yourself? Let's see here. Looks like we might still be having a little bit of Zoom difficulties. Antonio, no worries if you want to drop some. Oh, there we go.
There we go. It was asking me if I needed permission to unmute.
Oh, sorry about that. I'm not
Yeah.
sure what's going on this morning.
You and I both. I've been using Zoom since way before COVID. So I'm not sure what happened. But yeah, my name is Antonio Peter the Fourth. I had, sought out the committee because I'm very passionate about mental health and behavioral health. I am one that battles with, mental health, lifelong traumas. And I've been in the nonprofit world for about 12 years. So I've, referred people, partnered with different agencies and organizations, and just trying to get connected and moving up from more of the grassroots level to being able to have systemic and institutional change. So that's one of my primary reasons for joining this, seeking to join this committee, was to be able to start making more institutional systemic change, because I've been in the grassroots level for about 12 years. And so I my network, my resources, my understanding of things is different. And so now I'm ready to just kind of, work my way up and bring my whatever I can to the table.
Thank you so much, Antonio. We really appreciate it, and are very happy that you're here today.
Thank you. I'm glad I was finally able to make it.
Us too. Thanks again for holding on. Technology is great when it works, right? All right. Well, with that, I will pass it back over to our chair, Raquel Garcia, to pass it over to our wonderful Ryan.
I get to be the MC for the event today. I'm going to pass this over to Ryan, who's going to walk us through a rules review and discussion. Ryan, take it away.
Thank you, Raquel, and good morning, BHAAC, and congratulations, new members. And wow, I'm so excited to have new folks on dedicated to behavioral health here in Colorado and really participating in state government, right? The BHA was created on the foundation of involving community, being with community, and making sure that the community has the voice, and coming through with hey, what is our behavioral health system and what do people deserve to have as a behavioral health system in Colorado? So with that, the regulatory update, I think during the last meeting, you saw both Tom and I from a library in Fraser, Colorado, and we went through a whole bunch of different stuff about the 3 rule volumes that we're currently proposing rule changes for. So since then, we've been in 10 different locations across Colorado and completed, I think, 5 or 6 virtual sessions. We have 1 more virtual session scheduled for this evening at 6 o'clock if you're interested in that. Yeah, and then that's our closeout for the formal response process. That does not mean that we will not accept feedback, that we will not have conversations about what our rules are and aren't, and what are some opportunities to update those. The timing is just hey, we have to cut off feedback in order to get our rulemaking packets to where they need to go for approval from first off, posting at the Secretary of State's office, then approval through our Attorney General's office, right? We will continue to receive feedback at all times related to all things that Behavioral Health Administration does, including rule promulgation. With that, I should start with what is a rule? Right? Rules are really an agency's way to implement or interpret or declare a position on state law. A lot of state laws say, hey, state agency, promulgate rules to implement this piece of legislation or this law. That is just one lever state agencies have in implementing Colorado law. We also have contracts. We also have essentially policy memos. We have plans that we put into place, like their Children and Youth Behavioral Health Implementation Plan. Those are other levers that we can use, and I think that's the opportunity here with BHAAC as well, is that it's not just rules, it's not just providing feedback and collaborating on rules, it's about all of the other things that the BHA can and should be doing to make sure that, hey, our system is being influenced by community. With that, reminder, we have 3 rule volumes. Provider rules are what most folks are familiar with. Those are our licensing, designation, approval requirements for certain services and facilities, right? Those are the ones where Tom Miller and his team go out there and set up an individual program wants to be a behavioral health entity and do behavioral health services in Colorado. You need to have that behavioral health entity license, and there's a whole bunch of endorsements associated with that. It's also where there's the 2765 designation. If if facilities are providing care to individuals on certification or involuntary care, 2765 designation is needed, as well as the approval process for programs that want to be comprehensive or essential safety net providers. Those are those new titles that come with an additional funding piece, but also additional requirements. So the next agenda item, we'll get to budget requests, and we'll talk a little bit about where those things are coming from. The other one, system rules, these are the ones I'm most excited about. I'm a little biased here with that. It's really how BHA shares our vision for the behavioral health system. This is where we start setting up what is the BHA's funding framework. This is, hey, making sure that everyone across Colorado, no matter who they are, what their insurance looks may or may not be, they have access to crisis and emergency services. That's what our behavioral health crisis response system is set up to do and be, as well as care coordination. Every person in Colorado, if they show up at a facility or seeking some sort of behavioral health care, they should get what they need, or at least a direction to where they need to go, with warm handoffs and making sure that we're following them to make sure no one's falling through the cracks. And then the other part of this is BHA's funding. Where does BHA funding go for? It should be about access to timely services. So making sure that we are being transparent about where our funding goes and what our 32 different line items actually mean for what delivery of service in Colorado utilizing BHA's direct funding looks like. That happens and comes to us every single year, subject to JBC and the General Assembly. The last one, administrative rules. This is where we have put in our House Bill 241038, the high intensity kids system of care and how to access those. That's where that rule went. It's only 3 pages. I see Matt on here, give him a little bit of a hard time when we've been out in the community that his pages are only 3 pages long. But this is also a process that every single one of these rule volumes needs to be opened up, reviewed, and talked about, and stakeholdered and feedback provided to make sure that we are updating these routinely. Should never be a time where it's, oh, we did it perfect, it's done, it's never opening up again. No, this has to be an iterative process. So with that, look forward to having continued conversations with this group, collaborating about what needs to be included in rules and why. One thing with timing, Tasha, I see your hand, but one thing with timing is that we've received hundreds of individual pieces of feedback, comments about each of these rule volumes. Our goal is through December to have those posted online, both every single piece of comment that we got for each one of these volumes of rule and what our response to that comment is. The rulemaking packet that gets submitted to the State Board of Human Services as well as the commissioner has to include what did you do to engage community and what did community say about these rules, and then how did you respond to that? That is one of the most important pieces, and maybe the most important piece of rule. What did community say about this? And we have history with the State Board of Human Services that they will send us back to the community if they say, no, you didn't do good enough, or you didn't actually come to a resolution, that there's 2 different sides talking about a thing. So it is important that, yeah, this is community involvement at its finest here. So with that, what questions, Tasha? I see your hand up.
So before we jump into you, I just wanted to let everybody know that I have dropped the links in the chat. So we have linked to our rules and law website that has all the meeting information. I also dropped the registration link for tonight's virtual meeting in the chat. So just wanted to let everybody know that. So apologies. Go to you, Tasha.
Thank you. Ryan, something that clicked into my head is how are we going to follow that everybody's in compliance with this, like the BHA, HICPUF, with all these other different state departments, and they're all doing their equal job to ensure and not just talk about the visions, but implement the visions?
Hey, fantastic question. And I love where you're thinking there. This is part of, hey, there's a whole lot of different initiatives that the BHA is responsible, whether it's formal agreements that we have with state agencies. Those are the pieces that need to be fully transparent. What is included in those formal agreements between us and the other state agencies like Health for Policy and Financing and Department of Public Health and Environment, that they also run behavioral health programs? How do they actually all fit in? Part of the state law says that they have to align their programs with the BHA's vision that we have set. So part of system rules is that piece of how are we ensuring that our system rules actually cover all of behavioral health service delivery? As we know, BHA doesn't provide every one of those pieces of service. So I think that is a important piece for this BHAAC group to make sure that you're holding us accountable for what that is and what that looks like and what that means. The other piece that we're trying to centralize those initiatives together to have meaning, that it's not just an individual initiative that the BHA is responsible for. Every single thing BHA does should be connected together, whether it's individual programs. How does that program fit into our larger continuum of service delivery, as well as, hey, those programs that are run out of the Department of Agriculture, how do those actually fit with our larger system? Those are the pieces that I think you're right on. I think we have some work to do with what does that collaborative partnership look like across state agencies as well. We know about 14 different state agencies run behavioral health programs that, hey, we need to know about those. What is the funding for those, and making sure that those align with what we and the community is coming up for what people deserve to have.
Thank you, Ryan. I have one more question.
Sure.
How can we, or let me find it, I got it written down. Why are we collectively deciding to send every family that is seeking behavioral health supports for our children and youth and even adults? Well, children and youth, why is it going through child welfare and not the BHA?
It shouldn't be going through child welfare. Our behavioral health crisis response system right now should be serving kids and families, right? I mean, I think there's been some challenges with what pathways look like and what does access to care actually look like. I mean, I think we can even have that conversation, and looking at Judge Leith here is that we've had this conversation quite a bit, is how do we get people out from even accessing the criminal justice system? So I think that is part of what we are challenged with as the Behavioral Health Administration and the whole state of Colorado, is how do we get people to the right spot at the right time? It shouldn't be child welfare if child welfare isn't needed. It shouldn't be the criminal justice system if we have a robust system to actually take people in the right system, so they don't have to go in front of Judge Leith, right, to get the care that they absolutely need and deserve. So I think that is part of the challenge that we all face here. I'm saying we, as both BHA and BHAAC and all of Colorado. So with this, I mean, I think that needs to be our commitment to each other. It isn't just us reporting to you and you reporting to us. It's how are we actually creating strategies for addressing these big things, and being open to having real conversations about what is going well and what isn't going well, and actually driving to, it's no longer just hey, let's sit and talk about things, but what are we actually doing to address things? And to me, that starts with, hey, what does our law say? And how are we implementing that through our biggest lever, which is the regulatory process? But then how is the individual contracts looking? How is service delivery actually happening in community? And I think that's a big component that, hey, we have a fully staffed community engagement team, and making sure that we have a fully robust strategy for how we're getting all of communities to be involved in this process, where it isn't just a 20-member BHAAC that drives everything. Y'all should be hearing that. And I love the motion from earlier about what does that questionnaire look like. So you all hear that voice from community as well, which is fantastic. I love what you're doing here as well. I know that's me talking quite a bit. What other questions do we have?
Ryan, are we assuring that there's alignment with HICPUF, that the BHA is in alignment with HICPUF, so we could making sure that services are paid for and we can stop sending our children out of state for services?
Yeah, we have almost continuous meetings with HICPUF about what is their system, what are they creating through their regional accountable entities, and what is the collaboration with our behavioral health administrative service organizations. And that's part of the reason why our regions align directly with them, right? It's making sure that the networks in the communities. It's also the reason why we have come up with, within the system rules, the county designations. That is what the Division of Insurance is used. That is what healthcare policy and financing use to come up with what service and what is timely service delivery, and the miles it takes and requirements for what service delivery looks like based on the type of county. It was fantastic to be out in Lamar and seeing Renee raise their hand. Like, yes, it was fantastic to be out in Lamar on Tuesday to hear the feedback being like, hey, this may not work for us out in this area of Colorado, which that's the type of thing that BHA needs to hear, right? Lamar, the southeastern part of Colorado may have very, very different requirements and needs, right? Based on kind of the plains versus maybe it's a extreme access consideration county, but it's on the western slope. Very, very different. That shouldn't be BHA. That shouldn't be my joke at all of these meetings is you usually see me from my home office. That's a 9x9 box. There's never should be a time that Ryan is writing rules out of a 9x9 office in Lakewood, Colorado, right? Like this has to be a community driven process. But yeah, and that is, HIGPUF is healthcare policy and financing, which is our Medicaid state agency. So thanks for that. Make sure that you stop me when I oftentimes talk way too fast and use acronyms and numbers that maybe don't make a whole lot of sense because I live in statutory and number land.
Renee?
Renee.
And Ryan, it was great seeing you in Lamar. It was. Sorry, I have my computer that won't stop talking. Okay. So I have a question. So in the rural areas, going back to what Tosh had said, in the rural areas, there's going to be the interaction with DHS and child welfare when youth are involved. How or what is the plan to be sure that DHS does not just slam kids into a child welfare, but send them to the appropriate channels for that behavioral health? Same with criminal justice. You know, what does it look like for the BHA to get the referrals, get the, whatever it might be, so that these kids don't end up in those areas?
Yeah, and I think that's a big component that maybe even the progress and vision and agenda item after the break here with Kelly Causey, and I know Matt's here as well with hey, what is the whole plan with how the KID system? That's maybe arguably even a more complex system because there's county human services, there's a Department of Human Services, there's healthcare policy and financing all associated with this, as well as the overlay of what is the continuum of KID services for a larger KID service delivery. So I think that is the piece where Renee, Tasha, you're right on, is how are we collaborating across a whole bunch of different state agencies to make sure that they're aligned. The piece there is that all state agencies do have to align with the continuum and the service delivery that we are creating at BHA. What does that look like? What does that mean? That's another one where I know Matt and Kelly are constantly in meetings between healthcare policy and financing and Department of Human Services, as well as the county human service directors and county commissioners related to, hey, how are we going to get this right? Because there's variations across the state as well. So, I know that was what felt like a very government-y response there. But
and if I can jump in for just a second, and maybe Ryan, if you want to share more about it, or Matt, but I think what you're raising too, Karen, is how robust and effective will our care coordination be, and how will BOSSOs be able, in their network that we're building, be able to be more responsive and effective in those ways too. And so, so all of that is what we're striving for, to make both the care coordination, this BOSSO network, the access to those, getting kids in the right placement at the right level, at the right time that they need. And so we are going to be sharing more on the plan, and also commenting a little bit more on BOSSOs and that too, which will be an important part of making this work.
And the only piece I want to add is, yes, let's make sure that our children and families are involved in the right systems that they need to be involved in, and not involved in systems just as payer systems, right? So if they need to be involved in child welfare, then let's involve child welfare in the correct way, but not as just a payer for a resource that we can offer that same child and family outside of it.
Raquel, you have your hand up?
Yeah, when I remember sitting down in the commissioner's office and she kind of set forth this plan and shift. And when we looked at the pillars, what I was really most interested in is the financial structure part, that piece, right? So all of these theories and all of these ideas are great, but if we don't have a financial supportive system for that, which is also why that overlap of Medicaid or HIGPUF comes into play. I sat in rooms yesterday when we, are struggling, when we still have parity across the state and we talk about rural communities and how are we going to build an infrastructure when, people in resource, I call it for lack of a better terms, resource rich Denver have, they have plenty because people can build an organization that sustains itself. And in you pocket, you hop to the other side of the Palmer Divide and all things change. The reimbursement rates are a third. And so I'm hoping that we keep having this conversation. Y'all are going to get sick of me over the next year because I'm going to keep talking about this because we can keep talking about rural community all we want until we fund the rural community work. I do rural community work. I have coaches in Alamosa. I have coaches on the Western Slope. And you also have to make sure that you have a workforce that can do that work. So I think when we're talking about that, financial pillars, that's where Kelly, have some weigh in on that next conversation about youth. That's why we don't have it, because it can't sustain itself. So people can't find out how they're going to be able to do it. And someone who runs an organization that's statewide, it's really important because you have a lot of community members and people who are willing to do the work, right? We're all coming. But people also have bills to pay and lights to keep on, and I have people who need health insurance. So I want to make sure that we keep having that conversation. I know it's the one that people don't like to talk about is money, but they're all theories unless it's funded. It's all an idea. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, I absolutely appreciate that. The thing that we hear in every spot is hey, it's not just about access, right? It's about how do you get to a spot where if I'm in a rural community, like the likelihood of being able to sustain a brick and mortar location, like we've never had that. So what does transportation mean? And what does transportation actually mean when it actually takes me 2 hours to drive to a spot, attend an appointment, 2 hours back? How does that impact me, my family, ability to work, my social environment? So there's so much more to this than just the time and distance standards. That people are way more complex, systems are way more complex than that. So and then layer on top of that is just the whole workforce dynamics and challenges is, hey, we had endless pots of money and we built all these places. Doesn't necessarily mean that we'd have anyone to staff them, right? So these are all complex issues that come and that need to come together, and us having these conversations and actually coming up with hey, let's test out some strategies here and put them into practice and see where that goes. That's what I'm looking forward to for sure. Renee.
Hold the audio now.
Regarding workforce, something that I think would be good is, and this is just a thought, just a suggestion, is one of the largest areas of unemployment are people with disabilities. And a lot of these positions could be filled with people that have disabilities. And, working with Voc Rehab, working with National Federation of the Blind, there's a lot of different organizations. Those are people that want to work that often are overlooked because of their disability. And I've talked to Danette Smith about this as well, that we can fill a lot of these positions and do it and I understand the financial aspect, I get that part, but I think we need to be creative and look outside the box and say, where can we find this workforce? They're right here. They're available and people want to work. So I'm just suggesting that perhaps looking into the people that truly want to work and are highly unemployed at this moment.
Keep bringing that up. This is one of those things where I think this is the power that BHAAC has, right? Like this is hey, I have ideas. Let's utilize the collective experience and expertise that is in this room. Like I think that is the power of advisory councils, is that we can never have this as just hey, we met a statutory requirement, check the box, we had this meeting. No, like let's actually utilize the time that you all are putting into this and the expertise that you provide us to actually drive what we're doing here in Colorado. So thank you for that, Renee. Fantastic being with you in Lamar on Tuesday, and look forward to spending more time in person with you moving forward as well.
Absolutely.
And Karen, this is Kelly. I lead our workforce group, so I've captured that, the notes by you, and that's been raised in other places. So just know that I heard that, capturing it, and we'll work with my team on it.
Audio now.
And if I can be of any help to connect you with people, I have lots of connections.
You bet. I know you do. So thank you. I'm going to take you up on that offer.
Okay, sounds good.
Kel, I'll maybe kick it back to you if we want to transition to the next agenda item.
Absolutely. Next we are going to have a governor's budget and BHA budget requests. Who's taking this piece? Is that you, Ryan? Oh, okay, it's Ryan again. It doesn't tell me who is taking the mic, so thanks. Go, Ryan.
Yeah, so yeah, just a little behind the scenes here. BHA Policy and External Affairs was kind of my previous team, kind of changing the titles to Legislative and Government Affairs, kind of the same thing, policy, legislative stuff, me and my team, but working closely across the whole organization for that. Governor's budget came out November 1st. Really, to me, that is the start and kickoff for the upcoming legislative session. The General Assembly opens up, gets together starting on January 8th. Really, it starts with the budget. The governor comes out with a balanced budget. What that means is, hey, what sort of money are we projected to have for this upcoming fiscal year? And hey, it's going to be a tight budget. We're at about $1 billion projected deficit. So that means, just like all departments, we had to make reductions and offer reductions as part of the governor's budget. I personally am very optimistic about our specific budget and our budget requests. It's going to look like a reduction of about $3.6 million, but one of those things which we'll get into, which was called right sizing iMatter, which is our R6 budget request. We've actually never seen that $6 million. The iMatter program is that program that is really there as an easy access, a low barrier for kids receiving support services or therapy. It's a $5 million program. We're confident we can continue to operate at $5 million. One of the bills from last year said, no, there's going to be more referrals. It needs to be an $11 million program. So we had to formally submit a budget request saying, no, we can operate iMatter at the $5 million. We don't need that additional $6 million. So part of our budget reduction is it says $6 million for iMatter. We've got a whole lot of feedback being like, what? iMatter is going away. You're reducing it by $6 million. It's only a $5 million program. No, we're keeping it at $5 million and not expending it. So that's a $6 million, what it looks like, a $6 million reduction to our budget. So when we say that overall, there's about a $3.6 million reduction, $6 million of that is the iMatter reduction. So to me, if we take out R6, we're at a net increase, which I think is very, very positive in this type of financial environment or budget environment this year. With that, start at kind of our R1. It's called increasing access to behavioral health care. I think we can put links to where you can find and get even more information about this. Yeah, thanks. Guessing Caitlin put that link in there to the governor's budget. There's a whole bunch of tables. If you want to look at every budget request from every state agency, it's also in those folders. R1 is increasing access to behavioral health care. This is about a $3.2 million increase that's really about care coordination, kind of in 3 levels. Care coordination for uninsured individuals accessing care through providers, right? We, as many of you know in this group, there was updates to Colorado law, and subsequently our behavioral health rules, our provider rules that require more things for providers to do, which includes every comprehensive and essential needs to do a level of care coordination. Part of this is making sure that we are funding our providers to make sure that they are able to provide care coordination services. The other part of that request is $1 million going to our behavioral health administrative service organizations, or those BHAACs, to make sure that they have staff that can physically pick up the phone and be an access door for people seeking services. That's making sure that every region, $250,000 within each of the 4 regions, have that money to provide that level of navigation. And then the last one is making sure that there's administrative support for providers to assist into coming compliance with the new rules. This may be infrastructure stuff, this may be new medical records, this may be other stuff that it just takes for an organization to meet new regulatory and statutory requirements. So we are very, very excited about this being included in the governor's budget. To me, this shows the dedication to where we're at with behavioral health. This is important. So, and a super tight budget year, getting a budget increase for care coordination, I think is a big win for us. Obviously, there's a whole lot that needs to happen in order for this to actually go through and be put as part of the long bill. But we're optimistic at where we're at right now. So before I move forward with any of the other ones, any questions about R1?
Looks like Judge Blake might have a question.
Yeah, so the 3.2 million in general fund for the BHA to expand access to behavioral health care, can you explain what that actually means?
Yep. So it's in 3 parts for us. It's about $1 million for providers to do that care coordination. So those essentials and comprehensive providers. It's roughly about $1 million, or it is $1 million going to our behavioral health administrative service organizations to make sure that they have the staff availability, about $250,000 per BASO region, to make sure that there's navigators that are part of the BASOs, and then about $1 million for the administrative support for providers. So broken down into 3 parts. I think it comes out to $3.15 million, kind of just rounded up to the 3.2 there. But that is the breakdown of that. There's a lot of pieces that still need to happen. This is the initial piece. There's going to be another budget update coming out, I think, in December, which then that also starts our JVC process, which is our JVC briefing is scheduled for December 10th. So that's where the legislative council staff, JVC staff, presents to JVC about our budget, BHA's budget and budget requests, and then JVC formally asks them questions that they sent to us, and then we present to the Joint Budget Committee on December 19th. That's called our JVC hearing. Big one if you want to listen into that. That's where BHA says, here's what we are doing, here's what we think these requests do in a formal manner to JVC, those 6 members that kind of hold the funding purse for Colorado. So those are big things that happen in really over these next few weeks. So
what do you think the impact of the targeted Medicaid rate reductions is going to be?
Oh, fantastic question. And I think that's a piece where it's continuing through December and through the session, that's going to be probably the number one thing that we are following along with what does that look like, and how is Medicaid playing into the whole sphere of unwind and everything else. Like, yep, projections for me specifically, I don't have those, but looking forward to seeing what it says, or they say.
So does that mean then that they're going to take away 40 million in Medicaid reimbursements across the state? Or am I not understanding this?
I think we're probably in a better spot if we can even get Medicaid in here. I think there was as part of the agenda items, making sure that Medicaid has an opportunity to make sure that they speak on behalf of what they're doing within behavioral health and their budgets moving forward, and kind of coming up with, hey, what does BHAAC need to make solid, informed recommendations and be a partner? It's also working across other state agencies. I don't necessarily speak for Medicaid either.
This is the governor's plan, right? That we're looking at.
Yep, the full governor's budget that has, that's the first step in making sure that there's a balanced budget, and then JVC takes that and kind of moves money around based on how they see fit in order to get the long bill passed, which really is the end of March, April part of the legislative session when the long bill goes through both chambers.
Brian, we have a question in the chat saying, It does not sound like there is much money for increasing access to actual beds in facilities. Is this through a different funding source?
Yep. So access to beds and beds. I mean, I think Raquel summed this up very well. Is like, hey, funding is the actual conversation that we need to be having. If we really, I think this would be an opportunity to move forward even with BHAAC about what does BHA specific funding look like. Our long bill currently has 32 different line items. So individual programs have individual lines. We cannot move funding from one line and one program to other lines to pay for other programs. So we have a system that is really a patchwork of different programs that kind of create this continuum. So when we talk about beds and access to beds, like there are just a couple of lines that are that. We need to be abundantly clear about what we're doing within those pieces. And I think that is part of, hey, kids beds, kids access, going directly to R2. R2 is a $350,000 budget request to determine the capacity assessment and a financial analysis for the kids system specifically. I think that is exactly what this question is also detailing. What is the capacity of our full system? What does service delivery look like? Kick it to, if Kelly wants to add anything else related to what R2 is, I think that is also the conversation about, hey, how do all of these funding requests fit into a larger system? And I think that's the piece that we are also working on every single day at BHA about how those funding streams fit together, both for BHA specifically, but across other state agencies as well that have large dollar amounts as well.
Yeah, this is Kelly. I'll piggyback on that what Ryan mentioned in terms of us wanting to do an analysis of capacity. So we've heard different things this morning on the needs in rural communities or mountain resort, or where is there access in certain pockets or resource rich. So what's the capacity that's existing? And then complementing that with a fiscal analysis to say of all the different funding streams, federal and local, and say, how do we leverage all of that to then decide with the input from the capacity, where should we be investing that? Where do we need to change some things and how it's working or reallocate? How do we make the most of from the fiscal analysis, how do we make the most of the funding to address what's needed for capacity? And it can then drive future requests for funding that's better informed because we'll know what the capacity needs are. And so that's what we're asking in the R2.
Thank you, Kelly. Just looking at time here, I'd want to move through a couple of different requests here. R3, it's the Colorado Crisis Line Consolidation is what it's called. This is where we start to talk about how does the current crisis line and the funding stream for the crisis hotline, that 844 number, actually start transitioning to 988. Hopefully you all are seeing the 988 marketing. That is the way to access hotline or crisis services via the call line. That is 988 is fully active right now. So this is the behind the scenes work about how the funding looks and making sure that it is the funding in the right spot there. R4 is a big one that we get a whole lot of feedback related, and this is about alternative funding for behavioral health services. This is a $1.6 million reduction for 3 specific lines. The Circle program, it's a $800,000 reduction for the Circle program. Talking with a Circle program provider in Pueblo yesterday, we're talking about, wow, this maybe has a little bit of different impact because of the ARPA dollars that are eventually going away, and what sort of impact does that have with the Circle program moving forward. So I think there's continuous conversation to be had about that. Really nothing of these reductions should impact service delivery or staffing because the Circle program has seen a decrease in demand as well as the funding changes from Medicaid. The Circle program is that high intensity program, residential program for individuals predominantly with a substance use disorder. That program was created before Medicaid expanded to have a full continuum of substance use disorder services. So that is where that funding reduction came from, because there's other funding streams for that, but that's part of a budget reduction year, is that we had to make some tough decisions about what that looks like The other one was CYMHTA, the Children in Youth Mental Health Treatment Act, decrease the funding of $600,000 there, as that CYMHTA budget for residential services was lower than expected. So with that, part of that is about access and making sure that we are right sizing what funding for different types of program look like. And the last one is the treatment and detox program, a reduction of $200,000 because there is the influx of dollars into the system specifically related to SUD treatment over the last few years, a $200,000 reduction to that, as again, we are in a budget reduction year this year to try to make up for that $1 billion budget deficit. So that's a big one of the $1.6 million reduction there.
Ryan, we do have a question in the chat. How are you determining a decrease in demand for circle programming? They all have huge wait lists, which shows the demand is in no way decreased.
So it's the demand for our specific type of funding. It's the Medicaid is able to pay for the majority of the service delivery there. So it's really a decrease in our funding. It's actually showed an increase of funding from other streams. So that's it's directly to our funding, not the overall funding of this, as the circle program funding or those types of services actually seen an increase over the last, really almost decade since Medicaid has expanded their service delivery into a full continuum for substance use disorder care. So this is just specific to BHA's funding for the circle program. Regarding wait lists and stuff, that's exactly what talking with Crossroads yesterday about the way we've expanded other types of services. So the impact to circle program moving forward is maybe a thing that we need to take a relook at moving forward as well. But this is also part of hey, we're in a tough budget year. We had to make reductions. So it's never an easy time to kind of pick and choose where we have to reduce the budget, but we can't move forward without a balanced budget, else have a budget. So one of those pieces that is a tough part of government and budget balancing. R5, school mental health screening program. That was a bill from 2023, House Bill 23-1003. This was, hey, we were able to contract with a provider that was able to combine the two contracts into one. So it saved us money because we have a contract that can implement that at a lower cost. We're able to expand that moving forward, but it's about a $775,000 budget decrease just because we have a contractor that can do it cheaper, but still meet all of the requirements of the state law. So these are one of those ones where it's like, yes, that's a good one to make sure that when we had to decrease budgets, that this is one of those ones that, hey, service delivery is there. We can just do it at a lower cost. I talked about R6, that are right sizing iMatter. That's the $6 million budget reduction, but it's still operating iMatter at the $5 million per year mark. R7 is the Behavioral Health Entity Licensing Cash Fund Spending Authority. We are required to collect fees for a behavioral health entity license. We are unable, or we don't have authority to take that money and spend that money. This just gives us the authority to spend the money that goes into that cash fund. So we had to request the spending authority for that. And then the last one, there was a fiscal note error to House Bill 24-1038. So it's a budget request to essentially fix a fiscal note error that was identified between us, Joint Budget Committee, and Ledge Council Services. So it's just making a correction to that, where asking for general funds when they said it's originally federal funds. We can't use federal funds to pay for what we are required to pay for within that bill. So it has to be general funds. So it's just a change in the funding mechanism for that. So that's the all quick and dirty related to our 8 budget requests there. I know that's a ton of information, but what other questions can I jot down and try to answer?
I have one in the chat for you, Ryan. The question is, there is an ongoing need for inmate/parolees transitioning from prison. We operate 2 STIRT programs under SNL. Are we expecting budget cuts in this funding area?
I'm assuming STIRT programs are funded by a whole bunch of different areas. We do not have specific budget reductions from our specific line. Signal, the MSO with that. So there's potentially some related to that R4 with that, but I mean there isn't any specific to the justice involved cuts to those. As I talked about before, there's 32 individual line items. The reductions come from the specific line items that aren't justice related specifically there. I'd have to do some double checking about where STIRT program funding comes from specifically within those line items. Is we don't have a specific line item for STIRT, but we do have a whole bunch of other line items that aren't as clear about what the specifically funds based on the title of the line item. A little bit of background, I carry around our operating budget with me everywhere I go. So if you see me holding this yellow book, that is that. So, what other questions? And thanks for that. With that, Raquel, I'll kick it back to you, and thanks for the opportunity. I look forward to continuing a conversation as we move into a 2025 legislative session happening starting January 8th for 120 days.
Right? 'Tis the season, right? Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for always making asking questions easy with you. Thank you. I appreciate you answering questions. Appreciate it. Well, we're gonna take a break. Couple of things. Do you guys want to do a short break, end meeting early, stay on, or what do you want to do here, Caitlin? We're ahead of schedule.
Commissioner Smith won't be able to join us until 11:30 for her briefing. So if anything, we could probably just take a little bit of a longer break and then have Kelly and Matt come back at 10:55 to start their presentation.
Perfect.
Meeting
All right, on break till 10:55, y'all.
Yeah, we get a 20-minute break today. So everybody enjoy, and we will see you back here at 10:55.
Welcome back, council. Slowly creeping back into the Zoom room. Who went and did something good for themselves in that 20 minutes? Good, 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 good. I know, I ate a little soup.
I have a 4-month-old puppy, so that's all I did.
Yeah.
He takes the cake on it.
Absolutely.
Can everybody still see my screen share? Let me make sure that we're good there. Okay, perfect. All right.
Well, we get to have a presentation coming up, right? We get to hear from Kelly and Matt. I'm excited to hear this work. It's near and dear to my heart is youth work. So it's actually how I got my start, is helping young people in my small little town. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have on the horizon. Kelly and Matt, take it away.
That's great. Hello, everybody. I'm super excited because we have made some progress, and I'm excited to share with you, Matt and I will, about that. But also, as part of our time together, we want input from you. And so, so we're going to walk through some information. If you'll move to the next slide for me, Caitlin, great. So what Matt and I want to cover in the next 29 minutes or so, we're going to share year one progress and achievements, but then also get a pulse check from you on a few things and be able to share some next steps. And so I'm excited to get your input about that. And so if you'll go to the next slide, the youth plan was launched in January of last year. And I know some of you served on the original task force or the subcommittee, but it formally launched last year. For anyone new to council, the full plan is on our website. So we're now 11 months in. And so we're going to share high level with you, and then let me know if you want Matt and I to go deeper when we share the priorities and things. Happy to do that. Just want to make sure we have enough time to get your input on a few things. So one of the biggest achievements, which you all, I think, would appreciate as advisory council members, although out in the community, they just assume this happens. But one of the biggest accomplishments, and that BHA was charged to do, was to coordinate across state agencies, streamline the work together, pull everybody. Are we all rowing in the same direction? And so state agencies are working together. We have 12 different state departments, offices, agencies, whatever the formal names are, that are involved in this plan. Their logos are listed on the slide. You all will get the slide deck after. But we have these, we're coordinating all these 12 entities around the work and through this plan, and the action items in the plan reflect this work and what they're doing. But I just wanted you all to know that we took that seriously. We meet monthly with what we're calling the steering committee. We had to herd the cats. We had to get folks organized, get these action items underway. We meet monthly as a larger group. And then Matt and I and staff meet individually with every department and their worker bees in the plan, at least in addition, another meeting a month, sometimes two. And then there's other work that we do in pockets together. So I just wanted you all to know that's been a big lift, is getting all that infrastructure in place, getting them moving, and us being able to measure the progress on the commitments that all of us have made in the plan. We're going to talk a little bit later on then transitioning from being state-led through the steering committee to being more community-driven. And it was originally, and I know the task force and all of that, but how we're going to be transitioning to be able to get it more community-driven with the priorities and the work and the progress. So I'll share that in just a few minutes. So Matt and I are going to then share with you, there were 6 priorities in this original plan. And then in year one, 19 action items that we committed to. And so we're going to share that with you, go a little bit deep, but you all prompt if you want to know more, but we're going to kind of move through this to make sure we have time to get your input. Next slide. So one of the 6 priorities was around, one, just creating a governance structure in BHA that utilizes our own committees. BHAAC, BPAC, every department has advisory councils, committees, all of those good things.
This was all about organizing that work, using the committees, all of that. So we've been doing that. So we, as I mentioned, created that steering committee, checking with them monthly. How do we use our other committees and folks like you all in the work? So that has been underway and we'll continue to get better at it, but that got launched. We're also working with TAC, that's a consultant, Diana Simons, a national expert around system of care continuum for kids. We have asked for her recommendation on best practices, what should be a good governance structure, not just the steering committee to help us organize the work and move the action items. We're talking about a committee that is, or a governance structure that includes community members, that gets clinical experts. What's the kind of governance structure, best practice for our children's work overall? We will be hearing from her in May. Sounds like a long time out, but she's looking at best practices. We have some other work we'll talk about in a minute with them, with TAC. But you all, we're looking at nationally, what are best practices? Is it a subcommittee of BHAAC? Is it its own structure? Do we pull members? So we want her to share with us what are best practices. How could this look? You all be hearing more about it. It won't be that she just gives us a recommendation. We say yes and just do it. I just wanted you all to know that's coming. And so that was one of the top 6 priorities. Matt?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly, and thanks, BHAAC. I know you've had I've had the pleasure of being here, I think 2 times this year, to kind of kick off the plan, and thank you for the invite, Tosh. I saw that, but for the invite to originally kick it off in January or February, very early on, and then we did a little update during summertime because there is a ton of work happening, and as we come to that end of year 1. Again, like Kelly was talking about, really highlighting the accomplishments of this year. I know Kelly talked about it really quickly, but getting all of those folks in the room every month and then their staff another time a month was an incredible amount of work. And thank you to all the state departments involved and agencies. This is not something that we tell somebody to come to, but really something that they ask to be there. And we are so happy for their collaboration and partnership through all of this. So Kelly covered one of our 6 priorities for year 1, and so I'll cover 2 through 6. 2 really is addressing the needs of the youth with high acuity behavioral health concerns. We did a lot on this in this section. Some of these pieces, and actually it ties into what Ryan was saying earlier around House Bill 24-1038 and some of the rule writing we're doing that we did for that. Some of this is in this. So that same piece of legislation drove some of the aspects of this plan. And that collaboration was great because it's everybody push, pull, and drag that same way. So right now, BHA is fiscally supporting CRT, which is a children's crisis response team. This is a crisis mobile response and short-term intensive in-home behavioral health for kiddos. We're piloting it in 20 counties. We would love to expand something like this because we do know it's needed across the state, but we do need funding. Right, so that's one of the pieces. Reimbursement for QRTPs for the costs of room and board. We talked about that a little bit again with rule, but this is something that BHA is actually paying for youth with Medicaid who need a QRTP level of care, which is a high level of care. For those that don't know acronyms, Qualified Residential Treatment Placement. It's a high level of care for kiddos. And in the past, there was a financial it wasn't level. It was more financially lucrative for a provider to have a kiddo in child welfare in that same facility than a kiddo in Medicaid, but wasn't involved with child welfare. And it's this room and board piece. And so to make sure kiddos are in the right space, involved with the right systems and not involved with multiple systems if they don't need to be, this is another thing that we've put in place. Contracts have been signed and we're moving forward with this to make sure that the kids are getting the right level of service, involved in the right level of system to get the care that they need. And again, as Kelly said, we can spend a ton of time on each one of these. So I am going fast. You'd like me to slow down, let me know. But again, we're happy to come to different organizations or different places across the state to really get in the weeds if we want to. One of the other pieces that we've looked at is actually increasing residential provider training and having provider training. Our wonderful partners at CDHS are taking this on, doing incredible work. They create an academy for residential providers, so people actually working in the facilities, culturally competent service delivery, trauma-informed care. Those are the things, right? We want to help and support that workforce as much as we can, and this is one of the ways that we're working to do that. Just going to skip ahead to that last one. Working to expand the standardized assessment, both within and outside of Medicaid. So we're really looking to have, when we say standardized assessment, we mean the same thing. We're putting that in our rule. So that's in the administrative rule section that Ryan talked about. And the other piece is as we need these higher levels of care, wherever the kid is coming from, whatever systems they're involved in or not, it's that same threshold to access that high level of care. We don't want to have different thresholds for kiddos involved in different systems. So that's really where we're working. All right, next slide, please. So on this one, it really is prevention efforts. We just talked about all those kiddos, high acuity kiddos on one end of a continuum. And this is really looking at how do we keep kids from ever reaching that end of that continuum, looking at bolstering and supporting long-term investment in prevention efforts across the state. Our state partners are doing incredible work here. We want to help and exacerbate that, but I cannot say enough about the amazing work that CDPHE and their prevention division is doing. They have some incredible stuff. Their dashboards are wonderful. Their data pieces are wonderful. CDHS, they are also, and this is child welfare, are actually trying to move into as many prevention spaces as allowed for child welfare. It's child welfare, so you have to be involved in that system, but they're really looking at different ways to do families first dollars and support prevention efforts that way. And then we are doing some work through two different bills that you see there around helping kiddos in schools. One of them is really supporting the school itself and the administration and the staff, so that the environment for the students is trauma informed, and we understand that the behaviors of some kiddos is they don't necessarily need to be out of the school, but how do we support them within the school? So that's one of those. And the other piece is doing just really brief assessments for kiddos in 6th through 12th grade for anxiety, depression, suicidality, and substance use. These are very brief. Please know these are not diagnostic tools. No one's leaving here with a diagnosis, but it is just to see if there's something off our radar. Many kiddos who do really well and succeed in school or exceed academically, some of these other issues may fly under the radar and they may not get the help they need until they end up needing higher acuity services. So this is just one way that we can just help raise a flag, help get them connected with school counselors or whatever that level of care is that they need, and then move forward. Right. So just some different prevention efforts that we're involved in. Number 4 really is working with our HICPUF partners to create intensive in-home and community-based services. We talked about high acuity kiddos in priority number 2. And what we've also noticed is we have kiddos in higher level of placement, and they sometimes can't get out. And that placement may be a hospital setting where we have extended room and board or boarding extended stay. It may be a residential placement. It may be other pieces. But how do we get them home? And what's a safe way to step them down so that the kid feels supported, but also the family feels supported in that step down? And this is an area that I think in Colorado, we know that we've been lacking. So really working to bolster what that could look like and how that can look. This is obviously driven by a settlement agreement. So this is happening. We are helping to focus this right now around our Medicaid system. So please know we're starting there, but that same infrastructure and framework that is going into to help create that Medicaid framework and structure can be used for all kiddos across Colorado. Right. So it is absolutely, again, another one of these that it's a partnership, it's the collaboration and really leaning into some incredible work that is already happening. It is not happening as fast as anybody needs it, but it is happening as fast as we can do it. This is big systems change. 4 and 5, I want to say these are done. They're not going to be officially done until July 1 of 25. But ACC 3.0, that Medicaid update, for better words, including mobile crisis as a Medicaid benefit, expanding the CHIRP waiver benefits, establishing Colorado benefit for EPSTDT, these types of things. This is happening July 1. And so it's live July 1. And we really help support a lot of this work going through to make sure that it aligned, the Medicaid pieces aligned with the things we're going to do for BOSSOs, that aligned with the things we're doing for non-Medicaid kiddos. So we didn't have service disparity based on payer. And so we're really excited for that. And then the last one is our BOSSOs going to be live again, July 1, right? So awards have gone out and contracting is currently in place. Like right now, this will be done by January, I believe is our timeline. So it's coming very quickly and then live again in July. We, many of us at BHA obviously sit on these contract reviews, and we also are in other spaces to make sure that it's not just a BOSSO thing, but the BOSSOs support all of the kiddos. They interact with our RAIs when they need to, how all of that care coordination is going to work, knowing our families need this, again, independent of payer as they move forward. And families move back and forth between our systems. So how do we ensure to the best of our ability that the care looks the same or the coordination looks the same? I have another slide, but I'm going to stop real quick right here. Questions, comments? I've thrown a lot of language at y'all. Okay. I know it's the third time I've been here. You guys got it all by now. So it's like, oh, Matt, just keep moving, Matt, keep moving. Next slide, please. So when I say we had 95 original action items, and this slide breaks all the rules of slides, right? You're supposed to have like 6 words or less on a slide and then a picture or something. This has 2,000 words, but we talk about it early on that this plan for a 5-year plan has 95 action items. This is the year 1 list. This was the 19 action items that we believe we will have done by December 31st of this year. We have 12 of them already done. We're waiting on, yeah, I know we have 12 out of the 19 done. And you're thinking, how am I going to do 7 in the next month? A lot of it really is just waiting for final signatures or final approvals or the execution of a thing, right? The work has been done. So incredible amount of work for our partners at CDHS and HICPUF. BHA, no slouch. We definitely did a lot of work this year too. Now, year 2, if you think this year got big, year 2 is going to be big. We actually start off with 55 more action items. So in general, we are going to have a little over our half, about 58% of our full plan started or done by year 2. So we're really moving forward with a lot of these actions. Tosh, you can get the slide. I see you trying to read this thing. I can't. Don't worry about it.
Let me share with you what we wanted to do visually was just capture the 19, knowing it is small print and all that. We're working on a document that walks action item by action item and then gives a description and an update on it. So that's coming. We're finishing up content and all that, but just know, not just seeing the action item and us saying it's done. We're going to give a little explanation and all that so that folks can understand where we're at and what how we accomplished it, what it means. So that's coming. If we go to the next slide, what I'd like to do then is do a pulse check with you all. As we share out this first year of progress, and we're trying to capture a lot of information in a short amount of time. And I know folks are asking, how does this impact us? The difference it makes. So I wanted to pause and get your input. As we share this first year of progress, what aspects of this children's plan are you most interested in learning more about so that Matt and I can make sure we capture that and are able to share it? What information is valuable to you?
Yeah, Renee, sorry.
Karen, I think your hand's raised. Raquel, are you okay with me calling folks, or would you like to do that? Okay.
Okay.
You can do it.
So I have a question, because I've been in a couple of your presentations in the stakeholder meetings. And part of this plan is the community service agencies, is that correct? Where you're going to have that like as a liaison with the RAI or whatever. My question is, in some of the meetings they've talked about you've shared that you're going to look into using existing
ASL inter-
agencies or whatever that is in the community, what is already available. I have that concern if it falls back to DHS and child welfare, because I don't think they're going to be able to differentiate the two very easily. Just because I've seen that in the past, that it just they fall back to child welfare. So that's a concern I have, and wondering how going about developing those community service agencies.
Karen, let me see if I'm capturing, because I think, and I might be misinterpreting it, it might connect to the way we're building out the network for BOSSOs. Is that what you're referring to with MSOs, ASOs, how we're using them now?
No, with the intensive plan for children and youth, they've talked, I mean, are we talking about the same thing, or is there a whole nother system that I'm confusing it with?
No.
That doing a lot of in-home placement, and talked about the community, I believe it was called the Community Service Agency, not a BOSSO, but that would be like a liaison for each community. And that's where I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, I think no, I great question, and thank you. And these are confusing, and the fact that again we reference BOSSOs in the kids plan and kids plan, right? And so there is overlap for sure. I will say in the execution of the BOSSOs, one of the things that they will be required to do is care coordination. One of the ways in which they are going to do that is find locally existing community agencies or ways that are working in the counties. And so I think your question is spot on. It's broader than the kids plan, but it's getting us to care coordination across the board. And I think you're right, where the existing infrastructure traditionally has been with the Health and Human Service Department strongly in child welfare, since that has been funded. This is not looking to move kids into child welfare to receive care coordination. That is not the intent, and that would actually be counterintuitive to what we're trying to move to. So it's going to look a little different in each community, but the intent is not to rely more on child welfare. Did I answer that or not? I'm hoping I connected those pieces.
Yeah,
I think I did.
that you did, and I'm just hoping that you stick to that, because I know, going back to, especially in rural areas, it's a very combined DHS, maybe a child welfare person, but they also do this and also do that and also do that. And it's just like having a teacher in an after school program. It's just going to extend the school rather than give the kids an activity. It's the same kind of thing. And so it's like, if you're going to put the kids, involve DHS, I can see it so easily just falling back to child welfare, and we can't have that happen. And so that's just a concern I see in the plan.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Karen. Yep. Tasha, did you have a question? Your hand then went down. Was that covered? Okay.
No, I'm processing everything, and I'm trying to gather all my thoughts and stuff so I know where to navigate my questions.
Yeah, no problem. So there's a couple more places where we'd like your input.
We do actually have a question in the chat if you'd like to answer that right now.
Take a look.
It's in the Q&A. So Kelly Comwich, right? In my experience, getting getting into a residential treatment seems to be a lot bigger issue than getting out. HB 25-1038 was about getting stuck in the ER, so into a longer-term care facility. Again, there does not appear to be funding to increase the number of beds for civil commitment or funding for residential short-term or long-term kids or adults. Is maybe this funding is expected to be coming through the Office of Civil and Forensic Mental Health?
Kelly, that's a great question. It's just taking me a second to process the different pieces. So I apologize for the delay. It is not the delay in your drafting. It is the delay in my thought processing here. 1038 was a couple of different things, and there was also a bill 1269 that was specific to our hospital long stay and extended boarding and making sure that those youth were moving out, right? So collecting data very specific to our hospital systems. I can't speak to the civil commitment pieces. I don't know what in 1038, if that was actually specifically addressed or not. I will say one of the pieces in 1038 was looking at reasons for denials. And our partners over at CDHS are doing an incredible job with trying to track the reasons why a youth is denied for residential care in a facility. Right. So trying to do that to make sure that the right youth are getting in and not being denied for some other reason. So that's, I know I didn't answer the full piece of the question. And again, to an earlier point, funding for in-home community is continuing to be a huge priority. How do we fund it? And we do need to build more of a network. If I didn't answer that, please put it back in Q&A and I'll take another shot, or Kelly will.
So I want to move to the next slide and get a little bit more input from you all and just share what's ahead with next step and other opportunities. So if we'll move to the next slide, please. So here's what, in addition to just the action items and moving those, here are some other things that we've gotten feedback on over the 11 months and things that we're working on to make sure it gets better. One is making the plan easier to understand. So if you click on the document, it's very academic-y, I think. Comprehensive, covers a lot of stuff, but it might not be in the right format to make it easy for some folks to quickly get the information they need or to understand it. And so we'll click on this link in a minute, but what Matt and I are trying to do then is, with the steering committee and folks, we thought we would take the components of the care continuum, the prevention pieces, the intervention, from prevention to that transition recovery, take those components and align all those action items to them. So collectively, what's the state doing on prevention, screening and assessments, on high fidelity rep? So in my mind, it makes it easier to understand because you could quickly go to those sections and see, but I'm going to show you what we're trying to do and see if you all think it makes sense in this way too. So just an extra tool to better understand the plan. And Caitlin, I think you're going to have to be the one to click on it to show the example. And we can, when we send this out to, you'd be able to see it. And it's also small print. I get friends and we're coming up on time, but just visually at the top is this continuum of care, as I mentioned. And so if you look at the front, I know it's not linear, people, but just conceptually, we have the components of the continuum of care. So we took all these action items, and this is one example. If we were to look at the action items and say, what are we doing to move things on prevention? You'd be able to see the action items. They're color coded by year, but you'd be able to see it. Caitlin, if you scroll down another image, we then did the same with screening. And I think you get the idea. If you move across the continuum, you'd see the tasks. So you can unshare this piece, Caitlin. So I just wanted to get feedback from you all on just tools we're trying to create to better understand the plan or break things down a little bit. This was just one example. Tasha?
Is child welfare moving into prevention? Like more towards gearing towards prevention when it comes to our children and youth services?
We define prevention very differently than child welfare, and I only say that because, so yes they are, as much as they can be. Child welfare tends to be funded for kiddos that are known to child welfare, right? And when we say prevention, we are talking about any child, period, end of story. They don't need to be system involved in any system for us to be able to fund something that helps them. They can just be going to school, right? They can be all those things. So I think a short answer is yes. A much longer answer is when we say prevention and other folks say prevention, it's very different.
How many of the children ending up in foster care?
Yeah, that I don't
No,
know.
that's what I'm asking. Like, if you guys can get me that answer, like how many of the children that child welfare is involved with the behavioral health and the services and or lack thereof, how many of those kids are ending up in the foster care system? And how many parents are ending up in the judicial system?
Yeah.
Matt and I will follow
Because
up
of the
and see-
biases.
Yep, and see if we can get that number for you for sure. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we can hunt it down. So just a couple other things to flag for you, and then we'll just take a whole picture. So we're trying to create tools to help make the plan easier to understand for lots of different audiences. We're also working with, there are data folks from every state department that are connected to the plan. So we've asked those data folks to help us identify metrics. I think we've shared with you with this before. It's taking a little longer than I thought it might, but we're on our path. What we want to do to make the plan more transparent and the progress easier to understand is to have metrics to say, what's a metric to help us gauge if we're making progress on prevention or on the intervention? So that data team is working with us on what's the data we're collecting, how does it work, what are some potential metrics to measure progress, all of this leading to then what I hope will be a dashboard and folks can gauge progress at any time. And so when we have those metrics, we're gonna share that with community, get feedback too. I just wanted you all to know we're working on metrics to help gauge progress. Another is we're assessing the populations that we're serving through the action items. Is there anything we're missing? Who else should we focus on? We want to make sure that we really are reaching all kids. And we know there needs to be targeted support strategies for certain populations, extra efforts. And so we just want you to know we're taking a look at that. And another is we're about to begin outreach to communities, public facing, virtual meetings for now because of weather coming up on winter, to get input on what should be our priorities for year 2. We're continuing with the action items, moving all those forward. And if you'll go to the next slide, Caitlin, when we've been out doing community listening sessions with commissioner, through rulemaking, through just hearing from advocates and in meetings, these were some of the priorities that they shared with us. So we're taking this to community. We're going to have our first one in the beginning of December. We'll have more in January. I just wanted you all to know you will be invited. We hope you'll join us too. We want to hear from community to help inform the priorities that we should be focusing on the plan for the coming year. And so that's coming up too. And then one other piece is we're in the process of writing that progress report for year 1. That will likely come out in January. You'll hear some of the same information, but we'll have a document too that is a report and gives updates on that. So I know we're at time. Sorry, Caitlin, there's a lot of ground to cover, friends. Matt and I will stay on and monitor the Q&A. We will share information so you can get it out to networks on the engagement sessions we'll be doing on priorities, and just really appreciate you all and your support of and information on the work we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, folks.
Just sorry, really fast. If you guys want to get in contact with the judiciary, please contact me. And I'll put you in touch with the Judicial Mental Health Advisory Committee and the education specialist, if you want to do any presentations in that area.
Great, thank you. And we're happy to do presentations. We've done a ton of them, so thank you all.
Thank you so much, Kelly and Matt. So while we wait for the commissioner to join us, are there any questions? It looks like we got one from Tasha.
When it comes to advising, when it comes to the child and youth services and stuff like that, how is the advisory council going to be more involved with the advising when it comes to this?
Are you asking that of me for the plan?
Kelly, yeah,
Yeah.
like how is the advisory council going to be more involved in advising instead of just being presented with? Because that was brought up a few meetings ago and that never got answered.
I appreciate that question. So we shared the direction we're heading now. If you all have feedback, you'll get the slides, you click on it. If you have feedback for us on, are we creating the right tools to make it easier to understand when we have the metrics, we'll bring those to you. There, and I see your expression, Tasha. They're just recommendations from the data team. We're also going to share them in community. Are these the right is this the best way to measure progress? So you'll be able to give us input on that. We can always go back to the drawing board, always look at other things. So when we have that, you'll be able to give input on that recommendation. And the same on when we're holding the community sessions. You all are welcome to be part of that too, but know that we're going to get the feedback from the community through these sessions, and we're going to bring it back to this group and share with you, here's what we heard from community on priorities. Is this the right track? Are you on board? Is this how we should move forward? And so when we have that prioritization input from community beyond what we've heard already, we'll be able to come back to you all for advisement on moving forward with these two. And then we're also happy to join and give progress reports, hear from you all and help guide it. If there are things you're wanting to hear more about, that opening, please let Raquel know as chair or others, and we're happy to get input from you all on whatever is important to you relating to the plan.
Thank you. Danielle has her hand up.
Hello, Kelly and Matt. I was wondering, you know, we've all been to those stakeholder feedback meetings and it's just a bunch of information. Are you guys open to having some one-on-one conversations from people who are heavily impacted and very boots in the ground in this topic? I typically carry a heavy caseload of kids, particularly caught in this system. And have seen it go really good and really bad. So I have some concerns after listening to the plan that data is great, but anybody can skew data. And so I'm really interested in having conversations on actual cases that are currently unfolding in your state, and that would be the more appropriate place to pull data from, but it wouldn't be appropriate to speak to that in a public forum. And so is there a way that perhaps people could set up some one-on-one time with you to provide some actual data that hasn't been skewed by people's opinions of what they think is and isn't working?
Danielle, thank you for sharing that. Yes is the short answer. Matt and I are absolutely happy to do that with you. Absolutely, you can always reach out and have that happen. And I'm someone that also views data as both quantitative, qualitative, and so the metrics can be whatever we want them to be, how we're accountable to community. So if in the community listening sessions, and some of you were in the listening sessions with Commissioner and Raquel or others, if you want to speak to that, but it's very much, we're modeling very much the upcoming ones on those, where it's less talking, it's very much about community input, not just us reporting out a bunch of data. And so, or information of that. So we do want authentic engagement from community to do it. And yes, Danielle, happy to meet with you one-on-one or others. We also have other meetings with just disability advocate groups, or we have calls with just counties, or so also happy to just have any kind of subgroup like that to hear from. Absolutely.
One of the things I appreciated from the commissioner too, Danielle, just so you know, she said, you know, I went to listen to her in Pueblo, and Pueblo had some concerns too, right? That's a small town. That's a town that really has been, it's a forgotten community, I believe, right? And she said, you know what, you got to give me a chance. I want to hear from you, and you got to give me a year. You got to give me a chance. And then I'll take a report card on how do you think I'm doing? She really was engaged. And, you know, after sitting here for 2 years, and if you read articles, I haven't always felt that way about being someone who's been listened to, or, you know what I mean? So I really believe we're on the trajectory of that. So I really like that you asked that question, Danielle, and then welcome that answer to Kelly about, yes, that one-on-one support, especially from people who are in outlying communities. So I just want to let you know that, again, like I wouldn't have said this last year, but I definitely believe that this year.
Yep, and I will say to you all, I absolutely, and have with different members, met one-on-one with folks, and I know Matt has, and you all know I come from the advocacy side to come to the state. So I really, really appreciate when folks care enough. And I know for those most impacted by the work we do at any level of government, it counts to have those voices heard. And so Danielle, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Matt, and happy to set anything up. And the same for any of you, and you have done this, but just another encouragement of your own networks and all that we're happy to do. Just some listening one-on-one with you all too.
It looks like we have another message in the chat. I think this one's actually for Matt.
And great, Matt, you take it. I'm gonna go knock on Commissioner's door, and if it's, shall I? Okay,
Thank
thanks,
you, Kelly.
guys.
I appreciate that.
And I'm happy to respond. I'm trying to type out a articulate response to Kelly. I thought her question was very good. And so I'm just trying to make sure I get my words in the right order.
Sure.
So Kelly, it's coming. I promise you. And Danielle, yes, if you don't have my email, it's on one of the first slides. So once you get the slide deck, feel free to email myself or Kelly. I'm happy to meet.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
I also just linked it in the chat for everybody.
Thank you.
Right. So Kelly's going to go check with the commissioner because I know that she will be
She's
joining us.
about to join. She's just logging in. She'll be right on.
Perfect. Thanks for everybody for holding on there with us. I did want to go ahead and drop Matt's email in the chat though, so you'll have that. And then for current members and new members, I always send out a follow-up email a couple of days following the council meeting. So you'll have a copy of the slide deck. We'll go over some of the action items that we're requiring. You'll have the link to the executive subcommittee application and things like that. So you'll have more information to come following this meeting with all the contact information and everything like that. Tasha?
The slides weren't included with the agenda, correct? Were those?
No, yes.
Okay, I just wanted
my fault, Tasha, for talking to you slides, because I was at SAMHSA meetings all week and I should have gotten them to Caitlin and I didn't. So that's on me, but you'll get them for sure.
Yeah, and we'll be adamant about linking them ahead of time as agreed upon previously. All right, it looks like Commissioner is getting set up here. We'll just give her a moment until she is up and running.
Okay, good morning. I hope everybody is well. This is Dan Smith, the Commissioner. Caitlin, is there anything that you would like for me to focus on this morning?
Not in particular, Commissioner. I'm just providing a brief update to the council about BHA and how everything has been going for you.
Okay, what are some of the updates that you have given BHAAC, and I can take it from there?
Today we were focusing specifically on Kelly and Matt's presentation around children and youth.
Okay.
And then Ryan Templeton also advised us regarding BHA budget requests, the governor's budget, as well as rules updates.
Okay, perfect. So why don't I talk a little bit about the BHAAC. As many of you know, you were on the scoring team, a couple of you were. We made the selection of Signal, who will be over regions 2, 3, and 4. And then we have Rocky Mountain UHC, who will be over region 1. We are very excited about launching the work that the BHAAC will do. As you know, we have to have the BHAAC in place by July of 2025. We're going to be doing a soft launch in June of 2025. And as you know, we are asking, as part of the contract in our partnership with the BHAAC, we are asking them to be kind of the regional networkers for all of behavioral health in our regions 1 through 4. Many of you have heard me say that this BHAAC model is kind of our North Star on how we are going to be delivering behavioral health services in the state of Colorado. In other words, there will be significant partnerships between providers and the community, as well as some of our more institutions like hospitals, juvenile justice, child welfare, jails, to make sure that all behavioral health services are taking into consideration everybody that needs it, when they need it, and that it is accessible to them on time. So I'm looking forward to working with both Rocky as well as with Signal. We did a launch 2 Fridays ago, which went very, very well, where we began to scope out exactly what this new partnership is going to look like between the BHA and between our BHAAC. So we are very, very, very excited about what this is going to mean for us. The second thing is that I will be making our JBC presentation on of the budget, rather, that Ryan talked to you about. I'll be making that budget presentation on December 19th. December 19th. I'm not sure how BHAAC is able to participate. In my past lives, we were allowed to have the public there to hear the testimony and the presentation of the budget, but I'm not quite sure, and Caitlin can get those details for you on how we do the presentation of the budget for BHA. Finally, I will be doing a lot of work, not only with Kelly on launching the Children and Youth Implementation Plan, but as you know, we are looking to recruit some key leadership roles, one being the Deputy Commissioner for Finance and also the Deputy Commissioner of Adult Behavioral Health Services Continuum. I am in the process of looking for really good, talented people to come and lead our continuum. If you know of anyone, please feel free to email me or text me their information, and I will certainly reach out to them. Caitlin, that's all I can think of. If you want me to take questions, I can certainly do that. But I would tell you that I think BHA is on the move. We're doing a lot of great work here, just making sure that we're solidifying the work that the governor has asked us to do. And with that, Caitlin, I'll turn it back over to you or for any questions.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. It's good to see you. Good to see you. I think Renee has a question.
Audio now on mute.
Hey there. So I am wondering how the meetings you did across the state, how they went, and when you will get to some of the outlying areas such as La Junta, Lamar, Toyac, Cortez area, all those different outlying areas that really need support. And just wondering if you have a schedule yet as to when you're going to hit these areas and how it has gone so far.
Yeah, so far I've done, I think, close to maybe 9 to 10 community conversations all across the state. I've been to Durango, I've been to Sterling, I've been to Pueblo, Fort Collins, here in Denver, and I'm sure I'm missing some other places that I'm not mentioning right now. I felt the community conversations went very well. People were really engaged in sharing with us what they think behavioral health needs to look like in their region. Some of the high points that I think that I heard while I was out is that people want culturally and linguistically appropriate behavioral health services. Number 2, they want services for behavioral health to be accessible almost to the point that they could walk out their door and be able to access the services that they need to help them live a really fulfilled life. The third, I heard a lot of feedback about children's services, and so glad that Kelly was on with you to kind of talk about that today. Heard a lot about jail-based services, school-based services, how they could be enhanced and more and solidified more in the community. And then also heard a lot about what communities are already doing to make sure that they're providing good behavioral health services in the community, which was really, really good. I thought that our community conversations were well attended, not only by providers, but what I enjoyed the most, Renee, is that I was hearing from people who actually lived in that community, who could actually talk about the services that were needed for their region, for their family members, or for themselves. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I won't be going out and doing any tours until probably April or May. Once we get past the legislative season and the weather has broken a little bit here in Colorado, I'll be back on the road. Any other questions that I might be able to answer? Renee, does that answer your question? Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Appreciate you. Have a good rest of the afternoon, Commissioner.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right, we are at the time of our meeting where we can open up for public comment.
So if any member of the public would like to raise their virtual hand, we can ask you to unmute and ask your question or state your comment at this time. I see that we've had a couple in the chat. I just want to let you know that we have responded to those. Some that we're not able to answer live. I've also going to drop my email in the chat here that you can email me with your questions directly, and we can forward it on to the appropriate channel and leadership for a response.
Don't show anything, Caitlin.
Not seeing it. I think we might be ending this meeting a little early today.
You might be getting everybody 10 minutes back of your life today. You're welcome. You're welcome. So move to adjourn. Do I have a movement?
Second.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Have a fantastic week.
Thank
And a
you
good
so much,
Thanksgiving
everybody.
next week.
Yes. Happy holidays to everybody.
Happy holidays.
BHAAC members, just keep an eye out on your email. I'll be sending that follow-up information with the slide deck and a couple of action items headed your way. So just keep an eye out on your email if you can. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.